Hello. Here we are again on YouTube. We're in Blender because tonight we're going to start in Blender. We're going to make some stuff. We're going to take that stuff from Blender. We're going to use it in ComfyUI to make some other stuff. And it's going to be very cool. I promise. I've actually done this tutorial a couple times, so I'm going to kind of speed run through it as we work because we got a lot to cover here. But what we're going to do is make masks. We're going to use those masks to control the GIF ControlNet, the AnimateDiff ControlNet in ComfyUI. And yeah, you'll see why that's really cool. I found this workflow on the Banadoko server. I highly recommend you go to the Banadoko server in your spare time and check it out. It is called Geometric Shapes, and it is by CamSense, I believe. Of course, I can't read his name because the streamer mode is enabled. But yeah, Geometric Shapes. It looks like this on the thing. And these are the kind of results that we'll be getting with this. Extremely, 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 extremely sick. We're going to do that by generating masks like this in Blender. And we're going to use those to generate these. All right, let's go. We're in Blender. First thing you do is just... actually, we're not going to delete this cube. We're going to use this cube as the basis for our point cloud. Our point cloud. Our two-dimensional point cloud. All right, this is going to get a little weird. It's going to get a little weird. It's going to get a little weird, but that's okay. First things first, what are we trying to do here exactly? We're trying to make a bunch of planes, and on those planes, there's going to be shaders. And then those shaders, we're going to stack those shaders on a bigger grid. We're going to put them all over the place, and then we're going to use those masks to drive animate. So I'll show you what I mean. Let us add a geometry nodes modifier to our cube. And I'm going to go up here. I'm going to turn this into the little plus by put my mouse here. Drag over and make this a geometry node editor. We have our geometry nodes modifier, but there's no geometry nodes patch yet. So you hit new, and then we got our geometry nodes patch here. All right. We need a grid. So you want to search for a grid. Now the cube is a grid. Congratulations, you've made a cube into a grid. We're going to distribute points on faces. Distribute points on faces. Now we've got a bunch of points. We can control the density and we can control the seed. Now if you think of every one of these dots as a different shader on a different square, you'll see where we're going with the concept here. Yeah, all right, cool. So let's set our density to 10, seed 1. So what do we need to make the shaders? Well, we need planes. So let's make a plane. Let's hide our cube for now. Actually, we can call the cube the point cloud. And the plane we're going to call shader. The shader is going to go into a new collection. So we select the shader. We put our mouse somewhere in the middle and we hit M to move to collection. And we make a new collection called shaders. So the shader is now in the shaders collection. We can turn it on and off and we can see it. Very cool. I'll show you why we're doing this in a minute. All right, hit Z to rotate your display to see the top down. We need to set up our camera. Just zero out everything in the camera transform settings. Then move that camera up above the frame with like any distance above the thing. Boop, boop on the Z. And then we go into our camera mode, change it to orthographic, and set it to 2. And it's going to be, the camera width will be the same width and height as our shader or our texture or whatever. Then you can just set whatever resolution you want, 1080 by 1080, 1040, whatever, it'll 1024 by 1024. It'll always be perfectly square and match the perfect surroundings of the shader. So now we can work on our shader, get rid of the background stuff. Turn our thing to black and change this to rendered mode. All right, now we have our shader. We go into our shaders thing at the bottom here. Make a new shader, call it emission. So we have an emission shader. The very first thing we need to do with Blender shaders for this is go into color management in the very top tab here in the render tab. and then change it from AGX to standard so that our whites are white. We want them to be FFF white, not. All right. Got our shader. It's all here. So let's move this. So we can just use this window as our sort of editor. Let's change to the shader editor. This is our shader. It's a white light coming out of the surface, right? So we need a color ramp that'll allow us to control the color to color. Now we plug a texture into this, and all of a sudden we have a texture. So wave texture, factor to factor, boom. Every wave texture will perfectly loop if you. I'm going to set my distance here to 280. So this is a 280 frame animation. They will perfectly loop if you hit mouse over the phase offset, hit I to set a keyframe on 1, move to the end of your project by hitting shift right, and then hit right arrow 1 more time to get to the frame after the final frame. And you set your phase offset to tau times 2. Tau times 2. That's pi times 4. Tau times 2. Pi is pi times 2. Or tau is pi times 2. And then as a result, if you do it correctly, not like I just I actually go negative tau times 2 because that'll go backwards, or 4 times pi, whatever. Negative tau times 2. There we go. And hit I on your thing to keyframe it. Okay, there we go. So let's scale this down. We can see the movement. So this is always going to perfectly loop when it gets to 280 frames. The only problem we have right now is because I just reinstalled Blender, and as a default, Blender has its interpolation set to where is that? I'm trying to do this while I talk. Is it system? No. Animation. Yeah, by default, Blender has a Bezier curve on the automation interpolation. I like to change that back to linear. Yeah, and then just save preferences. But because this has already been written, you can actually hit A down here in this window, and hit T, and hit linear. So T will let you change the keyframe interpolations of the individual thing you have selected. All right, so now this is going to perfectly loop every 280 frames, which means we can double the speed and we can loop it at 70 frames. So it's a really good way to make animations for masks where you got options. You can render a 70 frame animation or a 280 frame animation. Get the same results essentially, you know. All right, so that's our one texture. That's great. We have our texture. We're going to want a whole bunch of these, but for now, let's just do the one. And so we got this this texture. Let's make another texture actually. So click your first one, Shift D, and then click again, and that's going to make a second like a duplication of it. And then if you go here, you can just move it over manually. So let's just move it over 2 meters. So we can do this over and over again. Keep moving them over, and you have multiple shaders under this thing. We go to this shader. We're going to copy the shader material thing. We're going to set it to 1, and then this one, copy it. We'll set it to 2, maybe to Y. And then this one will change from ring to bands to rings to Z. So now we have 3 different shaders. One thing we need to do is add mapping nodes. I forgot to do that. If you have Node Wrangler installed, it's just Control T, but if you don't, you just add a mapping node and a texture coordinate node. Okay, so we have our 3 textures. And now we want to put them on the point cloud. So let's look at our point cloud again. So let's distribute these points. So let's go back to our point cloud, go into our geometry nodes editor. We have distributed the points on the faces, but now we want to instance things on those points. So instance on points. We want a collection info. And then you select the shader collection and separate and reset the children. Plug it in instances. And now we have an awful lot of planes. But you may notice an issue. Does anyone see what the problem is? Does this look fine to everybody? Anyone know why this is happening? It's called Z-plane intersection. You don't see it when you're looking down on it because it's an orthographic camera, but these planes are all intersecting with each other, so it's causing the shader to go insane. So what do we need to do to separate the planes? We have this cool thing in here, this cool node called set transform, or transform set transform geometry. So plug the transform geometry node in after the instance on points. And what we want to do is just offset the Z height of all of the planes by a little bit so that they're all floating on their own level on the thing. So we need a combine XYZ node. This Z, we need a random value from negative 0.1 to 0.1. And then we just plug that into the transform. I've done a dumb here. Give me a moment. It's not transform. It's set position. Set position. We need to write to the geometry after by using an offset. So we vector into the offset, and all of a sudden, now the Z planes are all on different levels. And if you're still having intersections, you can increase and decrease the thing. And because we're using an orthographic camera, you can't tell any of this is happening. It's all good. It just makes it so that they all work. Another thing we can do is decrease the scale of these a bit. And let's make sure our camera is still in position. All right, so what else can we do to make these look better? Well, we can pick an instance for one, and that's going to put different shaders. All the shaders we have in here, it's going to start putting them in randomly. So what if we don't want the scale to be like constant, right? What if we want the scale to actually be varied? So in order to do that, we leave this back at 1. We're going to do this very similar thing to this, but here. But we don't need, we need all 3, right? But we need all 3 to be the same. So we're going to combine XYZ again, and then we're going to add a random value node. That random value node, we're going to go from 0.1 to 0.3, and we're going to plug it into all 3. Okay? And now every time we change the seed, we get a different random value, which sets different min and maxes for each one. So eventually we'll plug everything into the seed, and then we'll be able to just make as many of these as we want. So for right now, let's increase the size of our grid so it goes outside the bounds of the thing. And let's add some more density until we fill the space with animations. Now we have a really cool junk palette that we can use to do stuff. And you can just change the seeds and get completely different results. You can do all kinds of stuff. You change this seed too, different results with these ones. And then one of the really best parts about geometry nodes is, let's say we want the seed to be accessible outside. Let's plug the seed in from the group input to all the places where there's a seed. Seed, 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 seed. And now if we look over in our geometry nodes thing, there's this global seed. And every time we change that, we get a whole new composition. And then you can go in and change the min and max so that we can add those as well. If you hit N here, you get these little keys here. We can go scale min, scale max. What else might we want to control? The density probably. And that's probably fine. So now you can control all this stuff from right here. Turn down the density, turn up the density, make them all smaller. The other thing you can do is set minimums and maximums for these values. So when you're in here, you can say minimum value is 0.1, maximum is 4. Same deal with this one, 0.1, 4. And then when you move them, they can't get any smaller than, so you can determine what you want. And another cool thing we can do is, because these are all facing the same way, we can rotate them. But we want to rotate them by 90-degree iterations. We don't want to just have random rotations, because then we're going to have different shapes. Otherwise, yeah, we just want them to flip, on 90-degree angles. So to do that, we're going to use this rotation, right? But as you can see, if you have any angle other than a 90-degree angle, it'll look weird. What do? We drag this out, we add a random value, and all of a sudden, even if we only rotate the Z, we get, weird angles. So how do we fix this? Well, see if I remember. It was a math node. I remember that. It was a snap. And I think we're going to actually use a float for this. We're going to use a combine XYZ like the other ones, and we're only going to plug it into the Z. We're actually going to snap it as well. And to snap to 90-degree angles without converting to radians, we actually have to convert by pi divided by 4. Pi divided by 4. Or maybe it's pi divided by 2. Might be pi divided by 2. I'll tell you in a minute. Random value will be from negative 720 to 720. So I think, yeah, that's it. Pi times pi divided by 3. No, pi divided by 2. Pi divided by 4. Oh, yeah. Pi divided by 4 is 45 degrees. Pi divided by 2 is 90 degrees. So this is now changing them to 90-degree angles. So no matter what tiles we have, no matter what direction they all move, this will help mix it up a bit. All right. So, yeah. I think that's basically it for the trash pile. So now we just make a bunch of more shaders. This is confusing. Just leave this up here so people can take a quick screenshot if they want to rebuild it. I know how annoying it is when you can't see all the nodes and you're trying to rebuild something. Try to make this make sense. Rotation, scale, offset, collection info, distribute points, grid. Okay, yeah, there we go. Sorry, just so you can see all the connections there. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. All right, so that'll make our mud pile that we can then control with these, and we can go back to just adding more shaders to the pile. In case you're wondering what I'm doing there, I'm just hitting GX2, GX-2, GX4, GX6. I'm just moving GX, GY. That's grab and then connect to the x-axis or y-axis and move it that far. Because these are 2x2, you can just move everything in intervals of 2, and they work. If you just see me moving them around, that's what I'm doing. It's just for my own sanity. All right, and we slide back over to our shader editor. Always copy new material when you're working on the next one, or else it'll start adjusting, the one you were working on before as well. So yeah, we're just gonna make a bunch of shaders. Going from 0 to negative tau times 2 over the course of your animation, we'll let it loop twice. So you can do that with phase offset for waves. You can do that for spiral stuff. You can do that for anything with a circular motion. Another thing you can do is run that wave pattern then through any other texture with a math node, and then that texture will make stuff happen with that. So for instance, duplicate GX2, copy. We have this one here. It's a wave texture. We want to add, let's add Voronoi. So we have Voronoi. If I hit Control Shift click, it just shows me what this node is doing. So we can work on this node, and then we can work on the wave and then how they connect to each other. All right. So we got our Voronoi texture. We want to add bubbles instead of these cells. So we want to smooth F1. That's going to give us bubbles. And you can just play with these until you get what you want. So let's plug this into, well, we need a math node. Always use a math node to connect two textures. So let's factor into the math, distance into the math, this into the color ramp. Where did it go? I feel dumb. Where did it go? Oh, no. Helps if it's plugged in. So now you can see we're pushing a wave through that texture. You can start playing with the values to get exactly what you want. It still feels gray to me. Why does that look gray? Am I crazy? Or does that look gray? All right. Very strange. Anyway, you can see how it's now combining the two textures. So we've got the bubbles from the Voronoi and the waves from the wave texture. We, set that to 0. We get some cool bubbly bars. So you can just keep making textures, adding them, trying different combinations. Control D, GX2. And then make sure you copy. Maybe we don't want Voronoi anymore. Maybe we want something else. Let's try Musgrave texture. Then we can change this. One thing to remember, the patterns tend to work better if the black is the background and the white is the foreground. I feel like these shaders are They don't feel white. Oh, I think I know why. I had the Passepartout on. That's why they were gray. That makes more sense. Okay. Math. See what the magic texture looks like. Let's try subtract. That's pretty cool. Let's do an X. Yeah. There we go. Cool. So now we just keep adding things to the shaders. So if we look here, they should be filling our yeah, filling our little thing here. So if we go back to our geometry nodes editor, we can play with the seeds. Actually, we don't even need to do that because it's all in here now. So this will be enough to get us started here on the process. So let's you've seen how to make the shaders, you've seen how to do this. So let's just take this and start making stuff with it, okay? You want to render this at probably 1024 by 1024 because you will be pre-processing this stuff probably to 512 by 512. It's always good to have 1:1, 2:2 divisible textures. Set the output folder to whatever you like. I'm going to go with masks, mask 1. Normally I would recommend saving it as a PNG sequence, but we're using them as input footage for diffusion, so it's okay to save it as an FFmpeg, just like a rendered video. Oh, encoding, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to set it to MP4. We want to set it to perceptually lossless, and that's all fine. Just set a name for the file and put it somewhere you like it. Render animation. So it's going to render this. And then when it's done, we're going to use this to make an animation with AnimateDiff. And it's going to be glorious. What are y'all working on tonight? All right, we're done. Let's save this. Why not, eh? All right. So let's just close, or not, just minimize that for now and get into Comfy. I think I'll just do this from a blank slate so we can just get familiar with how to set up AnimateDiff. All right, K-sampler. This is not most of y'all's first rodeo, so VAE encoder or decoder. Image, search for VHS. We want video combine. Yeah, 24 frames per second. Oh no, I hit F11. Oh no, I hit F12. 24 frames per second. We're going to call it 24 FPS slash 24 FPS dash AnimateDiff. Put it in the 24 FPS folder. MP4, turn the CRF down a bit if you want. Makes higher quality files. Okay, VAE. Let's pump through the rest of it. We need an AnimateDiff. AnimateDiff loader with context. We're going to use MMSD. Just context options. We're going to add the uniform context options. 16.14. We're going to leave that the hell alone. We're going to uncheck apply V2 models properly because we're going to be using an SD15 model. We're going to need a checkpoint loader simple, but actually we're not going to use that. We're going to use a checkpoint loader with noise select. We want square root linear noise model, red to red. We're going to have to punch this through a clip text encode. Add a second clip text encode for our negatory prompt. Ooh, okay. Isn't this exciting? I know you guys have seen me do this 1,000 times, but you know what? Repetition and practice makes perfect. Okay. So right now we don't have the ControlNet yet. So NSFW nude because we're on YouTube and green. A brown, purple. AnimateDiff is yellow. I'll make it whatever you like. Red. And video combine is blue. It's not letting me right click on it. I love that bug. All right, cool. Yeah, photon. Yep. So let's check and see if this works. We need one more thing. We need a latent image. We need an empty latent image down here. And we're going to do 16 frames. And we're going to say swirling paint in water. Yeah, swirling paint in water. And if all is correct, which I think it is, this should just work. Nice. Yeah, SVD is really nice. AnimateDiff is alive and working. So what do we want to do? We want to plug in our ControlNet, the thing we just made. So let's do that. ControlNet apply advanced. No, I missed. ControlNet apply advanced. All right. ControlNet loader advanced. ADiff ControlNet. If you need to download that, it links in the description below. Positive prompt, negative prompt, positive prompt, negative prompt, image. So we need to load VHS. We want to load a video path. Image to image. Change the batch size on the empty latent image to a input, and then frame count to batch size. Another cool thing you can do is add a preview image here so you can see what the hell you're loading. Now our frame load cap is our batch size. So we want to do 60 frames. Actually 70 at 2 will be a perfect loop. So I put it in temp, and it was in temp masks. Yeah. All right. So copy as path, paste in here. It's going to load 70 frames and do its thing. Let's try graffiti abstract, graffiti on concrete, drippy, gooey, flowing, spray paint. Yeah. And I think we're going to set this a little lower, like 0.45, I think. All right, let's see what this does. Oh, I think that perfectly loops. Nice. We have a problem. Contest length somehow got set to 32. I was just going to make goo. So we'll cancel it. Everything else is fine. 16.14. Yeah, let's try that again. This should work better. Hopefully you guys can see the node path here. It's pretty simple. Case sampler is the heart of everything. AnimateDiff ControlNet. Clip text encodes for the and the model clip and VAE come from the low checkpoint with noise select. But I just realized I actually want to use this VAE, which is readily available on the internet. So I'm going to try that as the VAE instead of the model one. We'll see what happens. Of course, that won't take place until the next run. So whatever you change now will not have any effect on the current run. When you change stuff and then you run a new run, that's when it takes a look at the snapshot and does that. Add a film node, pull this out, copy this, paste it, use this. I'm going to say film 2x. So that'll make a film interpolated version as well. Call this output. All right, well, it's pretty incredible. Let's try and add some more. Let's just do it at 1 and see what it does. That's a crazy animation. So that was at 0.45 strength from the AnimateDiff ControlNet using this mask as input. So now we're trying one at full strength and see what it does. 1,000 Jackson Pollocks screamed out and then nothing. I'm going to kill my camera for this one because I think it helps the render a little bit. But yeah, not too bad. I mean, we got to the destination in 45 minutes. That's I think a new record for me. As always, if you're having trouble with this stuff, you need help, come by my Discord. There's people there. They know what they're doing. They can help you. Yeah, a bunch of freaking nerds in there. Everybody's pretty willing to help, though. If you got issues and problems, just bring them to the help channel. If something I didn't say or something I said didn't make sense, or if you missed a key command I used or something, just feel free to shout it out. I don't think it helps. There we go. That's creepy. So that's maybe a little too much input, but it's pretty cool. So we had 0.65 or 0.45. Let's buy 0.65. Yeah. And, interesting. Yeah, 0.65. I think that's all I want to change. I like the gooey and the drippiness and everything. This workflow is just a bastardization of a way better workflow on Banadoko. So I highly recommend just getting it off Banadoko. Let me get you the link to that. Copy. It's in this server here. and it's in the 80 resources channel. It's the one with all the crazy masks and moving stuff. That workflow is way better than anything I'm going to slap together today. I just wanted to rebuild the process of it so you guys could see what's happening, because like that workflow is pretty complicated, but it's better. It's got an upscaler, does all kinds of fun stuff, does some interesting stuff in the upscaling run. As far as the depth map and the control nets are concerned, like does some conditioning combining magic that I haven't fully looked at yet. It also has IP adapter guidance, so you can just drop an image in there and guide it towards that result. Super cool. We can add IP adapter to this too once we get a cool result. These images that I made are technically depth maps as well. So we might also be able to stack a depth map control net on top of the GIF one and see what that does. So let's try that. And then I'll add IP adapters. So I don't need this twice because I'm using the same files. I just need these two again. And we're going to make a depth. This one's depth. We're going to set it to like 3.5 maybe. And this image goes to here. That's literally all you need. Oh yeah, and the clip flows through control nets. So positive to positive, negative to negative. Yeah, you just added a control net. Okay, let's try it with some depth. Yeah. All right, let's set up IP adapter. Model goes through to AnimateDiff. Yeah, yeah. Right. We need a IP adapter model loader. You're gonna use plus. Oh, encoder. Yeah, plus clip vision loader. All right. Need a prep image for clip vision. I saw a really cool trick on that other workflow I'm going to replicate. I think that's what it was. It was basically a way of looking at the entire image as opposed to just whatever center cropped. I have to double check the values though. I think maybe wrong. Center left right pad. Center left right. 0.15 and 1 for everything. Okay, cool. Never mind. So 1, 1, 1, 1. Strange. All right, cool. No noise. And we just need to plug one image into these four. So load image. Hey, what do we got? Images. None of these are good for IP adapter. Let's do I have something? Let's go. Desktop. Stuff. Let's try this. An image my buddy generated, Jeffufu. We'll try this for style. So I know that was a lot, but I think that's everything we need to make this work. All right. And then, yeah. Well, anyway, hopefully y'all have set up IP adapter before, but if not, this is the basic structure. Just leave that nice and big for a second so you can screenshot it if you want. Yeah, let's try Neo Tokyo, alley, neon signs, reflective puddles, purple lights, that kind of fun stuff. Cyberpunk. Yeah. With that image, probably be cool. And then depth in our thing. Ooh, trippy. All right, let's try it with some depth. You can always check how much VRAM you're using by running pip install NVI top, and then using NVI top, and it'll tell you how much VRAM you're using. Like this workflow currently with all this stuff plus IP adapters is using 10 gigs of VRAM. So if you have an 8 gig card, this workflow is going to start getting really slow, and that's because we got two control nets, AnimateDiff, IP adapter, and relatively large batch. So you could either start cannibalizing things or rent some time on run pod or yeah, the Banadoko workflow is sick. Like I highly recommend using that. The upscaler looks awesome too. Just takes a long time. Hey, Tenzia. One other thing that helps is our tiles are all relatively around the same size. So if we play with our min and max scale on here, get some larger tiles. Maybe play with the seed a bit. Get some smaller tiles up front. And we got a lot more variation in the tile sizes. The thing we can do is make the minimum smaller. Hit N in here, and then because we set the minimum here, we can set it at 0.0, smaller. That was for max. Let's do that for min, 0.03. There we go. Some nice variation in the sizes. Find yourself a nice seed and render it. And then when you render one, just make sure you change the file name so you don't overwrite the last one you made. Hey. So yeah, like I said, this is really cool. Super powerful method for animation. Because the input footage loops and we have the you can also click closed loop if it doesn't, and that'll try to close the loop in AnimateDiff. Yeah, just dancing around. Yeah, I mean, it did a pretty good job of implying the IP adapter style. Another really cool thing is the color match node. I just had trouble making this work last time. I'll try it again. But it freaked out on me last time, so we'll see. This to here, and then we're gonna pop another one of these, and we're gonna call it color match. And this should try to color match it to the input footage, which is pretty neat. I don't know if it works with only footage though, or just because like last time I tried with an image, it freaked out. So you might need to make a batch of images that is the length of your animation, which is possible, but kind of annoying. All right. Yeah, well, let's try to loop in an upscaler then. Okay, let's add another K sampler. This one's going to take this latent. We're going to pull the model from the original checkpoint loader. We're going to pull the VAE from the VA. We're doing that here. A VAE decoder. But before the latent image goes in here, we need to upscale it. So let's add an latent upscale by, and we'll just do 1.5. Okay, so we're going to take our result from this one, and before we turn it into images, we're going to actually upscale it while it's still in a latent space. And that'll help. It'll redream new detail at this resolution, which is, if this one's 512 by 512, when it goes 1.5, it'll be 768 by 768. We're going to just use the same positive and negative prompt from the ControlNet. This can have diminishing returns or sort of expanding returns because it's processing the ControlNet twice. So we may have to back these numbers off a bit, but we'll play with it. And then we're just going to do a very similar output to here, except we're going to call it upscaled. Upscaled. And that's fine. And then we're going to add a film node. Sure, yeah, film node. And then we'll add another one of these. An upscaled film. 4 frame, upscaled. Sorry, I know this thing's in the way, but all right. So this upscaler over here, it'll run after this run. At 8. So that was easy. Maybe. Okay, let's do 16 frames to make sure it isn't broken. How do we do that? We change our frame load cap to 16. Whoops, not pin. Purple, purple, red, blue, cyan. Ooh, it did it. Look at that color match. That's nice, right? See how it like took on the... Ooh, that's super handy. Get that color match node in your life. Why is this going so fast? Oh, because it's 16 frames. I was like, wait a minute. You know what? I want one of these down here. Yeah. All right. Whoa. You know what? I know what happened. Do you see what happened? Do you see why that broke? Because I pulled the model and right out of the model. This is actually pretty trippy, but it's not what I meant to do. We need to pull it out of AnimateDiff, this model. And I think that'll work. Let's try that again without the strobe light. Holy cow, my Discord's blowing up. Oh, that looks really good. All right, this one worked. I'm blown away by this, like, the way they're walking around in the scene. It's so cool. I mean, holy cow. We lost a lot of movement, but this didn't lose this movement. Holy. That's interesting. Oh no, we didn't get a lot of movement in the top on this one either. Yeah. No, I mean that's a really cool sick. Okay. Let's this is upscaled output. Nice. This workflow is slowly getting crazier and crazier. Let's get all this stuff here. A little more confusing, but I should put all the stuff in the front. Well, I'm gonna rebuild this workflow later, I think. But I really like what it's doing right now. So let's try a long one or longer one. 16 is good here. Let's try 32 frames in the. I know. 32. All right, let's try that. As always, join the Discord, Purz.xyz. All the links are there. If you want to support the channel, you want to support what we're doing here, patreon.com/Purz gets you access to special channel on the Discord, and I will be releasing a giant mask pack for the subscribers, the supporters, really soon. I'm just putting it together right now. It's going to be just an absolute f ton of masks that you can use for this stuff. Yeah. I've got a lot of masks, so I'm going to share them with my friends. So yeah, sign up, get them. There's a bunch of free masks also on the Discord. I'm going to give you way more masks if you're a supporter. So yeah, if you want some masks for free, just come on out to the Discord, grab them, and then leave. It's all good. I don't mind. But I think you should stick around because there's some cool people there, and we're doing some fun stuff. And if you have AI troubles, it's a good spot to hang out and troubleshoot, because chances are someone else has been down the same road you're on right now. Like me and Rad Thundercat trying to figure out how to fix the film interpolation errors when starting out Comfy, because the CUDDN and the CUDA toolkit weren't playing together nicely. This is really cool. Man, I just love that. I just love that color match node. It's super cool. It's actually really cool because if you look at this, you can actually see all the tiles. It's just turned them into like street billboards and like signs, and very interesting. Because remember, this is our input. Actually, we might even be using the old one. Yeah, we're using the small one. I've made a bigger one since then. Let's try the bigger one. Yeah, this one. Copy as path. So after this one's done, we'll try the new one. And I think I'll disconnect the upscaler for now. And then when we get something we really like, I'll do an upscaler run, because 5 minutes for 32 frames is a little excessive. And we're rendering. It would be cool if you could use 3D noise in Comfy. Yes, I really want well, I've talked about this with a few people already, but I mean, timeline would be great, but failing that, some kind of like real-time shader toy with audio input thing would be very handy, even for generating ControlNet masks right before the run. On amplitude from like a kick track or bass line, or stems from your song, or even the whole tune itself. Just make some stuff react, and then use that as ControlNet input footage. Um, you could even do some really fun like scene switching stuff too, where you're having it when there's like a lot of amplitude, big smack or something. It like jumps to the next shader or something, and you get all kinds of really awesome motion there, pretty much for free. Wouldn't have to open up Blender and do all that crap I did for the first 45 minutes of this tutorial. That's for sure. As always, I don't play music on my streams so that you can. Plus, I'm listening to very abrasive dubstep right now, and I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. Hey, that looks cool. That's very alive. I like that. All right. Well, I am thoroughly impressed and thoroughly happy with this result. So let's keep kicking. Let's see what else I have for input images, because this color palette's starting to get tired. Let's try the Lawnmower Man. 3D cyberpunk, 1990s virtual reality horror movie, scary. Actually, we don't need that stuff. That's enough. Let's try that. 3D cyberpunk 1990s virtual reality with the Lawnmower Man input and the new mask. I'm probably going to cancel it on the upscaler run, but we'll see. If it's really good, I'll let it go. It is only 5 minutes after that. Yeah, everyone on this street is just completely drunk. Whoa. Yeah, I don't think we need to run the upscaler run on that. It's cool though. Very weird. I'm gonna set this at 0.25. I'm just gonna try something. Let it dream a little more. Let's try a different image. Where the heck did I put all of my images? Desktop stuff. So tempted to try Mr. Bean, but I'm not going to. Let's try Tron. 1980s. So yeah, if you like the potential of this, I highly recommend going and getting that workflow from the Banadoko server, because it's more advanced than this one. It's got different stuff for the ControlNet, different a whole separate ControlNet run for the refiner run. And the results look really, really good with it. So I highly recommend checking it out. This is sort of a shorter, easier version of that that you can build yourself, and then you could start adding more stuff. If you want to swap out the control nets for the refiner run, that's maybe not a bad idea. You could run another set of control nets and change the weights so that they're not as prominent, if that's the problem, because right now it's doing the control net twice. So I could duplicate all this and then run the positive and negative prompts into it, and then run them into this K sampler with like lower weights, to sort of scale the weights down a bit. That's pretty cool. Wow, the color corrected one is too dark, but it's really cool. I don't think I'm gonna upscale that one, but I really like it. All right, let's do. Kind of want to do Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean. Yeah, the only reason I'm not covering that Banadoko workflow in my stream is because it's just like really complicated. It uses get set nodes, and it's a bit of a struggle to get working. This you can pretty much just get going if you have all the normal stuff. That's not to say that it's not worth setting up though, because it's again looks amazing, super overpowered with this process when you're making these things, with all these masks. Another tool I like to use in Blender for the mask generation is a node pack called FX Nodes. Highly recommend it. It's got just an absolute ton of shapes, patterns, mappings, utilities, all for shader nodes that sort of just expand on Blender's toolkit. So If you get comfortable with this workflow that I'm doing now with the texture stuff, node packs like this are invaluable because, you know, if I just want to mix a heart and a butterfly, I can just use the two nodes, right? In a math node. So I'm about to demonstrate the power of this, but yeah, highly recommends this FX nodes if you want to get into making shader nodes for Blender. Extremely powerful, kind of gets you going with all these awesome building blocks. But I'll show you how I use it in a minute. Oh no! Oh geez, I got upscale that right. What a nightmare! I kind of love it. And how long is our upscale? 5 minutes. Okay, let's jump over to Blender then. So hide our point cloud and unhide our shaders. All right, let's duplicate this shader. GX2. Go over to the shader editor. Copy it. If you were a smart person and not me, you'd be naming all these and naming the materials the same name. But I'm not a smart man, so let's do that. So this is wave band X. What's this one? This is wave rings Z. Wave rings Z. This is wave horizontal stripes. This is wave distorted stripes. This is all in case later you need to do stuff with this and you just want to pull these shaders out and use them for stuff. You have a suit that folds like Mr. Bean. That's funny. Let's go wave distressed stripes. I mean, they're really just Voronoi stripes, but that's close enough. Wave. What's this one? I'm gonna call this bubble wave because I have no better name for it. And this is wave band X magic. All right, and then this one. This is great because now they're not in order anymore. You know, it's fantastic. Should have put numbers on them. Yeah. Okay. Cool. A little annoying maintenance is now done. All right, let's add more stuff. Let's get rid of this magic texture. We're gonna start using those nodes I was talking about. Once they're installed, you just you know, buy it, download it, install it, edit preferences, add, remove node packs or whatever, install that. Once it's installed, it'll be in your end menu over here under FX nodes, and all the nodes are in here. So let's try. I like the simplex grid. So let's try that vector and plug it into the math node. The wave texture is going to pull through this texture and make it loop no matter what it's set to. So you can adjust all these loops. It's always going to loop. I mean, this looks pretty cool already. So I'm probably just going to leave that one the hell alone. Duplicate it. GX2. Copy. Oh, what did I not do? Name it. So let's call it wave band X simplex grid, and you'll be 9. Oh, I already copied the material. I mean, that's pretty cool already. As you can see, you can get lost for hours just making textures. I mean, come on. Okay. Oh, I see. Let's add another texture. Oh, right on. Yeah, the whole beginning of this live stream is how to do this polyculture. So yeah, if you want to like yeah, I did the whole setup from the beginning to set it all up with the geometry nodes and all that. You'll have fun. Hop on the Discord and start shouting if you have trouble. Somebody will help you. These dramatic ones are cool. More nodes than you can handle. Okay, let's do we could try hex tiles that's scaled up pretty high. It's kind of cool. You got Y, what about Z? Ooh. Yeah. Cool. Oh, there I go, not naming stuff again. This will be hex Z. And then we'll call you we're gonna make a saw. That's cool. Yeah, like as you can see, just plugging stuff in, changing some stuff, adding different nodes. You can get pretty cool stuff. See a look at our junk table. Lots of cool stuff happening now. How's our render doing? Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh. Oh. Well, this is terrifying. New profile pick, anyone? Let's bounce another one of these with all this new stuff in it. If we go to our camera and we go to viewport display, we can actually black everything out around the edges so we can see like exactly what we're going to be rendering. So now looking at it, I think I want to bring the scale down a little bit on everything, and I just want to play with the seeds until we get something with a little more variety. You know what else I'm realizing would be like a really cool thing is some way to have a node that would offset the time for all of these a little bit. Because as long as they're all the same length, they should all loop in the same spot. Would be cool. Okay, I think this is gonna be good. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. What do we need to just fill? How much do we have? Solid. Yeah, here we go. I want to fill every pixel. Is that too much? Yeah. Maybe every not. Okay, let's try that. And then oh right, because the rotation. Bye. All right. That's pretty cool. Where are you? Go away, Steve. So what I've done here, I just had to remember how to do it. When you're instancing these things, everything in the collection has an ID. So you can actually tell it which IDs you want to show and which you don't. So if I only want to show 6, which is this one, or 7, or 8, or 6 through 8, after you've built out all your shaders, if you want to change the mud pile to be missing certain stuff that you don't like anymore or isn't working for what you're trying to do, you can just like omit those IDs. So if you go from 0 to however many you have or above however many you have, what do we got? Got 12. 0 to 12. That's going to hit all of them for sure. Then we can just flip our seed here to get a different layout, which means we can actually plug this into our seed. And then when we flick our seed, we get even more variation. Bum, bum, bum. That. Yeah. LOL. Okay. Yeah. So there. Hopefully that makes sense. So just hoping people can see where the nodes go and how everything connects. All right. Sweet. So 0 to 0, we'll only do that one. 1, we'll only do the first 2, first 3, first 4, blah, 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 blah. 15, 14, whatever. Seed is connected to the global seed, which is connectable here. Scale min, scale max. Why do we have one great big one? Oh, because these are not. So the more you add, the more junk you get, the more cool stuff you get. You can add different ones, do different things. You could just render out, like chunks like this, like in 16:9, do animations like that. Yeah, sky's the limit. All you have to do is camera mode, just move around in orthographic. That's as valid as a framing as this is, or this even with the edges. Who knows what that'll do? You can automate anything in Blender pretty much. So you can even automate the grid size, make them all explode out from the center like that. What else? Yeah, have fun with it. Yeah. So go forth and make things. I'm gonna cut it off here because I'm just getting tired and rambling at this point. But yeah, if you want to rebuild this workflow using the thing, I mean, I can drop this workflow on my Discord, but don't by any way. This is not the official workflow. I would honestly recommend going over to Banadoko, getting that set up, and using the one from there. There's some free masks there. You can use the masks on my server. And tonight I'm going to be dropping like 2 or 3 garbage masks, like the mud pile masks, for y'all to play with. So if you want some of these, I'll drop some of these crazy masks tonight so you can play with those. Yeah, they're really fun. Yeah, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Again, Patreon, Discord, Purz.xyz, all that stuff. Yeah, had a lot of fun, and I'm going to keep making these, and check my Twitter for the results. I think we're on to something really cool here. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Appreciate you all. Have a great night. We'll be back again soon.